Today, I'm going to be doing a detailed video on how to butcher a deer, how to do European mount, and even tell you a story about the first deer I ever got. This gorgeous 8-pointer. So, without further ado, let's hop into it. Now guys, I'd like to just say that I am not an expert in how to do this, so viewer discretion is advised. But this is the process I used for my first deer. Now, you can see here, this is how before I butchered it. And then here's a quick video of me going out into the barn 3 days later, and here it is. Now, first thing you do is you peel the skin off down the line of the leg, and then you peel it back, pulling it off almost like you're pulling off a rug off of a ground, I guess. I don't know. And then you're just gonna peel down, and then cut, and then peel, and then cut, and peel and cut. And that's pretty much the process. Now, the important thing you're doing here is just making sure you don't cut the meat. You can see it was extremely cold, so I forgot that because there's cuts in the back. But the value of getting to cut up your own deer at home is extremely important to know. First of all, what man are you really if you're a hunter but you pay somebody else to do it? Second thing is it's your own meat. You should do it. You went through the hunting, just do it. Now here I just take a flap and I cut it off so that it's not dragging on the ground, and I just keep peeling it down. Pulls off like a sock almost. And then the next thing we're gonna do is pretty much just cut off a leg. Now I usually start at one of the back legs, but we'll get to that. Now I have a Kubota, as some of you know, so I put the buck on the Kubota and called it a buckota. Now here we go, we're cutting off the first leg right here. And basically we put it on the table and we cut along different muscles in the leg so that you can have each muscle like that and like that. And then we just slice it up in the little pieces and we package it like that. Now, this was my first deer, so it was not the best, but it's the best photographs I've got, so you'll just have to bear with me. Now, here it is. Once you've stripped the bone of all the meat, you can throw it to the dog like this here. And then, next thing I did in this example here is I cut off the outer part of the rib, and then I cut along the inside of the ribs. Now, nowadays, I usually cut the whole rib cage off, cut the rib cage off, and then I just have a chunk of ribs like you do at the store. Now, I just kept on going with these legs. I peel them. I basically scrape the carcass of anything edible. Then, I do each leg, ending with the last leg hanging up. I then put it on the table, and I chop it up to the best of my ability. Here you go. You can see I have two piles. One is for dogs, and one is for edible consumption. And then in the top left, you can see the ribs. Then what I did was I put the head on it and I packaged it. Now you don't have to go fancy. I just did Ziploc bags. Next thing you're going to do for the European mount is just peel the skin off the best you can, like this. And then what I did was I had it soak in a bucket of dish soap and water overnight. So that drained all the blood out so you don't get blood. Now be careful with those teeth because deer teeth are extremely sharp and you can get cut and then they can get infected. Now next thing I did is you're going to want to cut the neck off at the spinal cord just enough so that you can enter the brain, but not so much that it destroys the skull. And then I basically break the jawbone and peel it backwards, tearing it off. So then you just have the almost nose piece and skull and then antlers. Next thing I'm going to do is put it on a very, very low simmer. Do not rolling boils, and then put Dawn soap in that, and that'll help loosen it up. Then what I did was I basically just put it in a sink, and I just scrubbed with a brush and a sponge. But avoid putting the antlers in the boiling or simmering water, because then they'll lose their color, and that's what you want. Then you're just gonna stick forks, anything that you can fit into the brain at where the spine connects to try to debrain it. And then what you're going to do is just keep on scrubbing and scrubbing and scrubbing, putting water into the skull, and then taking out. Then I wrap duct tape around the antler base, and I pressure wash it very lightly. Make sure you don't break up the nose piece and the nasal and behind the eyes. And just pressure wash it very, very lightly. And do this on repeat 8 or 9 times. And then you're going to get a product like this. Now, you can bleach the skull, but do not bleach the antlers. Because then the problem is you're going to destroy the color, which makes the antlers valuable. So here it is, the story on how I first got my first deer. Now, I had never gotten a deer before, and I'd always loved hunting, but I had never had any success. In fact, the abysmal success I had had in the past was I had never seen a single deer while hunting. And it wasn't like I had never gone hunting before or gone once or twice. I went every day, all day, the whole hunting season, even muzzleloader. So it was a long process of fail after fail after fail after fail. Now, I believe this was the fall of 2023. Yeah, I was correct. When I was hunting, and I had hunted every single day of that season that year, apart from Sundays, because in Maine, you cannot hunt on Sundays. Well, I would get up at 3 a.m., and I would climb up the mountain on my bike, and I would go up 8 miles away to the top of the mountain, and I'd circle around the bluff, and it wasn't like I wasn't seeing sign. I knew what to look for, because I'd find them in the summer, but they just disappeared in the fall. And I'd go, I'd see looking signs, see tracks, all of that. And then winter came and I'd be freezing, freezing. And I'd starve. I'd do anything to try to get this deer. I'd come home and I'd have to bike back 8 miles in the dark. And as luck would have it, I eventually did get one. Or that would be spoiling the story, but oh well, you already know that by the title of the video. So I was going along, and this was the final day, December 9th, the final day of muzzleloader season for white-tailed deer in Maine of 2023. And I really had I did a prayer. I really was like, God, like, I've put some serious effort in. Please give me the chance, man. And so I went along, and I went through a logging job, right? And I hunted all day, and I went through the logging job, and I sit there by this rock behind a tree. I look at the whole flat, maybe 100 yards in the distance through the trees, and they would go like this, and there was a creek here. And basically, 5, maybe 6 minutes to the legal shooting, I see a flick, right? And I'm like, what was that? Looking, pull up my gun, looking, and guess what? It was a deer. Now, I didn't know if it was a buck, and that was the problem, because I can only shoot a buck. I didn't have a doe tag. So, I'm looking, and I'm really hoping, because time is running out. I had a glow-in-the-dark watch right here, and as I would look, I'd glance off the scope and look at my watch, because if I'm gonna get a deer, it's gonna be legal. So I'm looking, and then I see a white flash, and that meant that it was the antlers. These antlers here, I might add. And so I see the flash, and what it was the antlers going across a hemlock branch, and the branch was reflecting the antlers. And so I knew it was a buck. I knew that it had some antlers, at least a decent set, but I would have taken anything at that point. 5 minutes of season, I'm not waiting. So I'm looking, I'm waiting for a shot, and I put it just above his chest, and he's facing it, his head's here, his rump's here, and I'm looking at his chest, I put the crosshairs, and I'm fingering the trigger when he moves to the left behind the hemlock tree. And then I am like, cursing, like I'm in Vietnam sort of stuff. And I'm like, damn. So I'm looking, I'm waiting. All he has to do is he has to either go left or right. But if he goes backwards, I'm not gonna get him. And this is 80 yards away in the dark. Well, as dark as it was still legal, but it was pretty dark for 80 yards away. And I'm looking, and he comes to the right, so his chest is over here, his rump's over here. I put it over his chest. I look at my clock. I've got maybe 4 minutes left. I'm looking, and then, because it was a 50 cal muzzleloader, that thing kicked like a mule. It blew me off 5 feet. But the smoke went billowing up in the sky. The light from the muzzle reflected off the smoke, so it blinded me, deafened me, and I'm just sitting there blinking, like, ugh, hoping I got it because it's a muzzleloader and it's the end of the season. I'm only getting one shot off. So I'm looking there, I wait maybe a minute and a half, and I get up and I stumble through the dark 80 yards away, tripping and trapping and all of that, tripping over sticks and stones and all that. I get over the thing and it's twitching on the ground, like, and so I grab its head with my left hand. I take my knife out and I slit its throat because I didn't want the thing to get up, because I didn't know if I spine shot it or something. And turns out the shot was true because it went through the neck, through the ephemeral artery, and the windpipe. I guess the gun was off. I did testing and the gun was off by about this much to the right and down. So that was good. But I slit its throat, and I got it, and I got a photo. And basically then I had to tie a rope around its neck, or around its antlers. And then I got a big old stick about maybe like yay long. And I tied the rope around the middle, and I drag it like this. So I dragged it maybe half a mile to the truck, which was really lucky because normally I hunt it 8 miles away. This specific hunt, I was only half a mile away because, well, to be quite frank, I was lazy that day. So, dragged it, threw it in the truck, brought it to the tagging station, got it tagged. Great thing right there. And that's the story. So then I brought it home, and the next day, or 2 days later, because you gotta let it dry, or hang, I proceeded to butcher it. But these are the antlers. And the process was extremely rewarding. And you know what, guys? God answers prayers when you need it sometimes. It's a nice 8-pointer with a little drop tine right here. Baby one. But it is there. And it's extremely rewarding, guys. If you could do me a favor, guys, please hit the like, subscribe, and comment, and share it. Send it to other friends and family members. Try to grow the channel. And like always, see you guys around.